Well, serendipity. Last week I had a touch&sew 626 that needed just the hook gear replaced with the bobbin winder setup in it. This week I have another customer machine that has both gears on this lower shaft have disintegrated. And this lower shaft drive gear looks okay. So there's the upper set of gears and then this lower gear cross shaft, and this is all the same gear setup that the 400 and 500 series had. And then they started replacing them with plastic. So like the 603E, the original auto reel / touch&sew machine has all metal gears underneath it. And then those were, like I said, replaced with these plastic ones in later models. Not terrifically hard to replace. If you're lucky and have an all metal touch&sew, very solid machines. This 626 has a different latch for the winder though. So the original auto reel had a big button and a bar across the middle here to push this up, and then this machine has the pop down lever, and then the other 626 had the little flipper. But I'm gonna move the camera, and since that other 626 I had gotten it apart before I remembered to get the camera out, I will disassemble this on camera. For disassembling, the hook is spinning freely on this machine. I'm going to hold, reaching in the top and holding that hook. The nut on the bottom of the touch&sew mechanism is reverse threaded. So you have to hold the hook steady and turn it clockwise to loosen this little nut. And then once that nut is off, that's clockwise. And this snap down mechanism, there's a screw on the side of this bracket that holds this on, and I don't actually know if that got a little hex head on it. See if I can grip it with find a tiny wrench for this is a alright. Alright, I need to get a tiny wrench or socket that fits on this screw. This little set screw is 7/32 and a flathead, and get it loose, and then maybe just removing this screw, just let that slip out. I believe this popping mechanism is the intermediary between the big old push button on the bed of the machine and the little flipper mechanism. Alright, well, I've never had one of these apart. I learned there is a much faster and simpler way to get this out. We removed our main nut reverse thread from the bottom of the spindle here, and then this whole mechanism, there's two mounting screws like that up under here, and when you remove those mounting screws, this whole assembly just, well, it wiggled out a moment ago. Anyhow, no. When you fold it up for bobbin winding mode, then it just sort of jiggles out. So this is folded up in bobbin winding mode, and then if it's released, it doesn't quite come out. But that way, didn't have to deal with this spring or that screw or this screw, just the two big mounting screws. So I will have to remember that when I pop one of these out next time. Obviously, the little flipper mechanism, way easier to deal with. Alright, so we've took our drive washer off, and we'll rotate the machine so that the feed dogs are in the far back position, which is low here, and then our drive for the, yeah, our drive should pop right out, which, since I'm in here, I'm going to pop this drive out and clean it. Give it a little more push from below. The tough part with all this is just getting a grip on things. There we go. Alright, got our drive out. With the feed dogs in their far back position, this cutout here lets it slip straight up. So yeah, that's all going to get cleaned up. And now this has a single set screw on the side. This is the old one, so these are SAE 3/32 on this, and then some of the new parts are made after they switch to metric, so they'll have metric set screws in them, and some of them are older stock So you might get a new part that has 3/32 set screws in it, or you might get a newer one that has the metric screws. Alright. Now, yeah, and that's been on there a long time, so just get a screwdriver and give it a little pry and it pops right off. Now the hook is completely loose, but it will not slide entirely out without removing a lot more of the machine, so leave that loose and clean it, and then move on to get these other two gear hubs off. Again, just loosening them. There's no this drive shaft here is only held in place by the two gear positions and the gear mesh, so it's not like some of the later machines where there's C-clips or springs to help hold this horizontal shaft in place. Because this shaft is held in place by the gears, you have to loosen both gears, even if there's been a partial replacement on the machine when you get it. So like, because these gears can fail at different times, if there's been a partial replacement on the gears, you will still have to loosen both gears on this shaft in order to get enough movement to slide the shaft left and right to get the gears to come off. So I'm going to finish loosening those set screws and then sliding the shaft back and forth to get these old hubs off, and be back with another version of replacing these gears. Since I have to do both of the gears on this lower shaft, I have the shaft sliding, both these sliding, but as you can see, the hub on the right hand side won't get past the gear from the vertical shaft, so we have to be able to slide that whole shaft sideways out of the machine, which is easy enough to do. All we have to do is take the cover off the electric plug and slip that out of the way. That also gives better access to inspect this lower gear, and since I'm already doing 3 gears, I'm just going to replace that lower gear as well, because there's no reason to leave it here. The upper gears look okay on this machine, so it's worth doing the lower gears and seeing how long it lasts. The upper gears are a lot more work. And now with the plug out of the way, I can just reach my tools in from the side hole where we ran this shaft out and get that gear popped right off. Okay, so grab the old gear out off the bottom shaft there, especially because these gears are square cut, and this is as old as the rest of the gears in the machine. Doing 3, may as well do all 4. So I have the replacement here. This is a newer one with the metric set screw in it. The old one had the American SAE set screw. The top of the shaft is meshed on the gears up there. There is a flat on the side of the shaft, so you need to make sure that you put the set screw there. Get the set screw lined up on the shaft with the flat, and then go. Make sure that you get it nice and tight against the flat there. Wiggle the shaft. It tightened up really nice though, so I think that I've got it on there real good. Now, that shaft is in. Where did I? Nope. I, of course, set the new gears aside and then promptly mix them all up. Let me double check where my gears went. Alright, we have to insert our lower shaft here. It has this flat on one end, and that is the hook end. So we had to put this in, get our replacement gear for the, oh, I need to loosen the set screws in this gear so it'll slide through. Alright, now flat is running to the hook. Slide our drive gear on and slide it in, and now I've got it lined up for the hook end. Shaft is lined up for the hook end. I have a set of the newer style helical plastic gears to put in this machine, which is handy. They are an upgraded set that is generally considered an improvement because they are quieter than the originals. And then I didn't check where my flat was on this, so I have to... I have spotted the flat. It's rotated around here, so we'll get our set screw onto that flat. Alright. And then we've got the main drive gear here. And it meshes up nicely with the new things, and again, these are an easy to time machine because the lower drive shaft here does not run our feed dogs or anything, so the feed timing is not changed when switching these gears like the newer machines that have the alpha gear set on them. And there. So our mesh here is pretty good. Alright, temporarily have that together, and now we've got to make sure that our motor is up and in place. These motors are just clamped in from the bottom. Typically, so this bracket has the clamping action to hold the motor in place, and they just slip in, and as long as you don't pull the motor out and really as long as you don't do much with the motor, then none of the shims in there are going to move around, because it is shimmed for the spiral drive gear. But there. Alright. That's all back in place. It is time to check the hook timing and then reassemble our... Alright, so put our needle in place. Widest zigzag. Because the hook rotates and goes behind the needle from right to left, use the left hand side of the stitch. Set the eye just below where the hook should pass, and then set the hook so it's just behind the eye in the scarf. And now make sure that our gear meshes are nice, and we'll tighten these up. And I will double check that again after we tighten this, but since I did both these gears and this one was already loose, I used this one for timing. But if you're only doing the hook end, you can use the hook gear for timing.